We're here in Madison County with Carrie Ann Kuman of Eco Tulips. Carrie Ann, tell me how Eco Tulips came to be and what exactly you guys do here.
Well, we started last year. We're new. This is our very first year, and Eco Tulips came about when I met my husband. He's a tulip farmer. He's been in tulips all his life, and I lived in Charlottesville before we moved out here, and kind of living a green lifestyle. And I was asking, well, can you grow tulips organically? And he's like, I don't know. And so we went to Holland and we met with 75-year-old man Wilbur Brockman, who's been growing organic tulips for, oh gosh, 20 plus years now. And he inspired us. He has been trying to get the word out, creating a market for organic tulips. And being in Charlottesville, in this area of the world, we're like, you know what, I think we can do that. And we're very, very excited to come back and import his tulips and see what we could do in our own garden.
Because growing tulips organically in Holland is not a very common thing, is it?
No, not at all. In fact, I think less than 1% of all tulips are organic. They use a lot of pesticides, and they do it on a very large scale, which is difficult to do. Tulips are prone to diseases, and it just takes, it's a lot more labor intensive because you have to do weeding by hand, and you have to go through and look for the diseased tulip and pull it out by hand.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly a lot more hands-on. And you guys have your own cut your own tulip operation too. Tell me about that.
We do. That's our first year as well. Jeroen planted 40,000 tulips by hand.
Oh my gosh, that's a big task.
It's amazing. I'm glad he's still standing and still alive and with us. It's the first time he's ever done it by hand. And we wanted folks to be able to come out and pick their own tulips. Most people don't get to go to Holland and do that, and so this is an opportunity for them to come out, experience it for themselves, and hopefully be inspired to make their own tulip gardens.
Wonderful. And now, I met your husband at the city market, and so I know that you can buy the bulbs there, but you guys also do something a little differently. You do some fundraising. Tell me about that.
We do. There are always bulb fundraisers that you hear about, and so we are doing a fundraiser. We do fundraisers for folks like churches, schools, youth groups, and we offer our bulbs as fundraisers, and they've been really, really popular and going very well. And the difference, again, is that ours are pesticide-free compared to the others.
Which is wonderful. Well, I see that Jeroen is in the cut your own tulip bed, so let's go take a look and meet him. So, Jeroen, Carrie Ann was telling me that growing tulips organically is not big business in Holland.
No, it's only 25 acres of organic tulips in Holland of the 25,000 acres total.
Oh my goodness.
Like 0.1% of the total amount of acres, so not many. And there are a couple of growers who started to do this 20 years ago, and they put a lot of effort in this way of growing because they don't use any pesticides, and this is very good for the environment because spraying pesticides also for botrytis and for insecticides is not good for the environment.
Certainly, and I'm imagining that growing tulips conventionally, the old-fashioned way, it requires quite a bit of that pesticide application.
Yes, it is definitely because it gets mass. The growers get bigger. They want to put less labor in their crop, and it is just easier to spray.
Certainly.
And
we've all seen that, right? We can bend over and pull a couple weeds or spray a little Roundup, and it becomes awfully appealing just to spray.
Yes, indeed.
And now, is there something that you can do organically to help keep weeds in control?
Yes, as you see, we applied a layer of straw. When you apply like 2 inches of straw, the sun will not reach the soil, and that makes the weeds not come up.
Okay, that makes sense. A good mulch is always a great solution for that.
Yes, and like for botrytis or other diseases, they do just lots of manual control.
So they watch for it and remove it from the site?
Yes, and then they take it out of their field and
get rid of it completely. So
yes, instead of spraying it, when you see like some insects, you can spray over it and they will die, or you can remove them from your crop.
Now, tulips, I've never been to a tulip farm. I've never had the pleasure of going to Holland, but do they grow tulips in the same place year after year, or how?
No, they have to do a rotation of even 7 years, 6 to 7 years, and the organic growers, they work together with dairy farmers. and the dairy farmers, they have, for example, 100 acres,
Mm-hmm.
and then they will divide it in 10 pieces of field, and then they do 1 year tulips, and then 6 years it will be like pasture.
So that
And
the cows are adding
will do
to, right?
the fertilizing,
Right.
and it is necessary because the tulips do deplete their own soil.
Okay.
And if you do not want to use fungicides, you need to wait 6 years.
So that all the fungus dies.
Yes.
So there's no host then.
Indeed.
Now, I've always been under the impression that I plant a tulip, I get to enjoy it for a few years, and ultimately it's going to fizzle out and die. But you tell me that that's not necessarily true. I can follow the lead of these big
No,
farmers.
indeed. That's also with our festival the most question of the people. They say like we grow tulips, but they don't come back after a couple of years. And then my first question is, do you dig them up in June? Because that's the way how to grow tulips. Also, the commercial bulb growers do that every year. They plant them in the fall, and then they let them die back in May, June.
Okay.
And when the plant dies back, then you dig it up and you divide the bulb. There's one big bulb and a couple small
The babies,
bulbs,
right?
baby bulbs, and then you store them in your garage or whatever, and then in the next fall you plant them again.
Okay.
And if you do that in that way, then you can buy one bulb and have after 50 years like 5,000 bulbs because they multiply fast.
Wonderful. Well, okay, I'm going to believe you, and I'm going to give that a try. And now we're going to go back in the studio where Jeroen is going to talk to us about just how to harvest those bulbs and store them properly so that in 50 years we can have those mass blooms out of our one tulip bulb.